entirety of the Super Smash Bros. Community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host, Peon, this week live from the Florida-Georgia line. I'm joined, as always, by wonderful co-host, AV. AV, how you doing, big boy?
I'm doing pretty great. They have some. I love Southern food, so that you know where to find me.
Dude, I love Southern food. I love fried food. I love chicken. I love everything that the South represents. Well, maybe not everything. But Florida. I don't know if you've ever heard. Florida Georgia Line is also a band. They're a country band, right?
Really?
They have this. They have this song. It's called "Dirt," right? And my sister showed it to me. And it's this song where like the whole song's just like symbolic, like allegorical message about like dirt, right? But they don't expect intelligence on the part of the listener. So it'll be like, I built my house on it, I played in it, or whatever. I don't know. It's some country ass lyrics, and passively, quietly, underneath all of the guitar and the banjo, you'll just hear dirt. Like throughout the whole song. And it might be the worst song I've ever heard.
That sounds really creepy, honestly. I would be very unnerved by that song. That being said, you have to show it to me after this.
They say white people don't have culture. Have you ever heard "Dirt" by Florida Georgia Line? All right.
There you have it. I think white people saw that and they're like, you know what? We prefer to not have culture.
Yeah, I think white people would contest that claim. And I'm saying this as a white guy. We would contest that claim if not for the band Florida Georgia Line. They ruined it.
There you have it.
But AV, I'm about to surprise you with something. In the past, in this little part, we'll talk about our inevitable world domination, and we'll talk about the new countries that have listened to the podcast. But I don't want to do that this week. I want to ask you, what was your week in Smash like, man? What have you been doing? Like tell me about you playing the game.
Yeah, sure. I went to my local. I actually did not perform the way that I thought I would. I was trying out Wolf, and I kind of came to the conclusion that my playstyle was too passive. Like I kind of went back into this really passive playstyle that I've been so hard like trying to get rid of. So I kind of just have spent like this week trying to play a bit more aggressive and smart aggressive. Like whenever I read an option, I try to get into someone's face with it instead of just playing reactively. So this week for me has been it has been a debrief from that local and me trying to jump into this more aggressive play. What about you, man?
Cool, man. I actually spent some time with it was a girlfriend's birthday. She lives a few hours away from me right now, so I drove up, hung out with her. We did a lot of cool stuff. We went to an escape room. We did a lot of cool things. We had a good dinner. But I mentioned this because I wasn't really playing Smash, right? And I came back from my little mini vacation, and I'm like, you know what? I need to pick up a different character. I've been trying to play Chrom, as you guys know, and Chrom's really fun. I've been playing him a lot, but he still didn't cover some of the matchups that I wanted him to cover. So I'm like, you know what? Everybody else is picking up Wolf. My buddy AV is picking up Wolf. I'm gonna, whatever. I'm a furry now, I guess. So I pick up Wolf, and I play him for a day. The next day, I go to my local, and I win it with Wolf. And I think Wolf is as easy as everybody said that he was. But he's also super fun.
Yeah, I think he is really easy. When I first saw this huge wave of new Wolf players, the wave of the furries, I was like, dude, this character is the new Cloud of Smash 4, and I actually feel that not only through through the results that everyone was getting with the character, but also through my own interaction with the character. Like I always felt like I played Cloud super. Like I played Cloud because everyone did. But I played him super reactively, super patient, super I never took initiative, and I feel like I'm doing the exact same thing with Wolf, and I'm just kind of relying on I'm leaning back and relying too much on the character being good and not me being good as a player.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, that seems to be the narrative though, that Wolf is the in quotation marks the new Cloud.
Yeah.
But I can see some parallels, and either way, I'm really enjoying the character. Hey, I can't argue with the tournament win.
Dude, that's awesome. I think that's super cool. Like that inspires me. Inspires me to come down and take your guys' money because if you're winning with your day two wolf.
But my friend, this week we're not here to talk about my day two wolf. We're here to talk about fundamentals, and I'm excited to talk about it. I think that in our discussion we did at least a decent job of breaking down what they are and how to practice them.
Yeah, I think the thing that we kind of get into is we just kind of go back and forth like how do we define this thing? Like we got to freak out because we're like, okay, we have slightly different definitions on this, as most people do, and then we kind of converge on a set definition, and then we make sure that you guys are leaving with some path forward, because I think that's like the end result of most conversations about fundamentals. You're like, yeah, it's like we just talked about it for like 30 minutes and then I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. So, listen up, try to get something from it. I think we do a good job, and if at least painting like half of the story of like your path to improvement, and at least how we see the fundamentals and how to practice them. AV, any last words, my friend?
Not really, but make sure to grasp what Peon says at the end about the path forward, and make sure at the very least take away the pattern recognition aspect of understanding fundamentals.
So all that and more in just 1 second. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, AV and I are here to talk to you about fundamentals. The thing is that fundamentals are so like nebulously discussed. There's so often there's kind of like mystic appreciation towards fundamentals. Like, ooh, like you should practice your fundamentals, or oh, his fundamentals are so good. What are people talking about? And AV, help me out here, buddy.
How I got my fundamentals is I went to this Shaolin temple, and I sat in the middle of this room, and then at the 10th hour when the clock struck, it just absorbed into me, and that's how I've received them. And that's about as good as an explanation as most people give.
Yeah. Seriously, I think that was like the most helpful description of fundamentals I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think it's like such a hard thing to talk about. Like, what do you like? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think fundamentals?
Okay, so I've thought about this for a long time. I've wrestled with this concept for a long time, and the way I've always kind of described to people, how like people ask me all the time, Peon, how do you get better at Smash? Like, I get that you and AV like to talk for an hour and a half about God knows what, but what do I need to do to get better? And the reason that question is so loaded is because Smash is so multidimensional. There's so many things that you could be improving on, so many things that you could be doing incorrectly. But the simplest way I've ever broken it down is by saying there's two halves of the game. There are what you're able to do with your character, how you're able to perform your technical skills, and B, how you can play that mental chess match that every Smash game actually is under the surface. And for me, fundamentals are how you go about playing that mental chess match and understanding the framework of like your own decision making.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I think I want to talk more about the chess match than I do want about like the basic stuff, because I think all of us have understand that, okay, you need to know how to short hop, you need to know how to RAR properly, all this stuff you can just grind out in training mode. Those are like the base fundamentals, and that's not hard. Like if you that's why the beginning of learning how to play Smash is fast, like it's like Yeah, that's why you get like these like super fast bursts of improvement at the beginning. But it's like, yeah, what about improving at these quote unquote FGC fundamentals? And in my opinion, there's whenever you're in a match, there's two different situations. Either you encounter a situation that you've been in before, or you encounter a situation that you've never been in before. And I like splitting it up this way because, in my opinion, it's like if you encounter the situation you've been in before, how fast can you recognize it and utilize your knowledge to act on that situation? Or if you've never been in the situation before, how fast can you recognize it and devise a plan around it?
That's a good point, though. I like what you said about when you first start playing, you can, learn. The first day I learned how to short hop, I was like, oh, I had this like crazy improvement. After you play the game for a year or even a few months, even a few weeks, hell, if you're playing pretty often, you kind of run out of those opportunities to have those like epiphanies. You know what I mean? There's only so many epiphanies. There's a limited amount of epiphanies that Smash presents to you, right? And getting from the point of being like not being able to beat the level 3 computer to being able to beat the level 9 computer, that process isn't very long. If you're listening to this podcast, you can probably beat a level 9 computer, right? And you probably were able to figure it out, pretty quickly. And maybe that's no oversimplification, because level 9 computers are low key pretty busted in Ultimate. but
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
but once you're past that point, once you've kind of gotten into like the mid-level player kind of big gray zone, how do you improve? What separates the greatest from the good? Both you and Zero probably have, can do the same combos with Fox, for instance. But why would Zero's Fox be able to make top 8 of a super major and yours would drown in pools? That's kind of what I want to outline. And I think fundamentals is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of toot my own horn, but I kind of want to go back to the kind of the definition that I laid out, and I want you to kind of talk to it a little, because I was talking about like reacting to situations, and talking about how, like, when, let's just say, Zero or Nairo have seen a situation that they've been in before, it's like clockwork. And because they've been in so many different situations, and because they've acknowledged so many different situations and said, okay, like, because they like their brain is just hardwired to learn at this ridiculously fast pace, they can download the situation, implement a change, and then it's like hard coded, like from there on out. And the thing is, it's not so fundamentals in this definition that I've laid out is kind of this thing about how fast you will learn. And I actually think that's the essence of it. And what do you think about that?
Yeah. I think that I think we can define it as the like mid-match learning process. You know what I mean? And how fast you learn within that framework shows how good your fundamentals are, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
but just that framework of being able to make informed decisions mid-match. That
Right.
to me is
Right.
the essence of what we're getting at.
But I don't think it's just mid match. That's the thing. I think it's like you can take information away from a match and store it and then never make that mistake again, or have like a 95% like
Right.
like
And then
guarantee that
and
you're
then you
never
use that
gonna.
information to make decisions mid-match.
Sure. So it's
Right?
like it's like a cycle. I mean, we're both telling half the story, I guess, in that scenario. It's like there's like a like there's mid set adaptations, and then there's post set reflection and preset introspection, or more reflection. And then yes, and then
Yeah, but
there's
if
mid
you're
set
making
adaptation.
decisions mid match, AV, there's certainly like an implied history to that, right? Like you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
no. Well, the thing is, I'm not saying that like you're gonna. You're not saying, like, obviously, like, you're all the stuff, all the meat is happens mid match, but then after that, you take it afterward and you say, okay, I reflect on this. I understand what happened, and I'm gonna make sure to I'm going to make sure that I don't make those mistakes again, because I think that's actually equally as important as recognizing it mid-match. Psychologically, I think you're correct. It's like when it happens and you immediately receive positive or negative reinforcement, that's kind of the big deal. But I think there's also this reflection stage afterward that's really important that a lot of people forget about.
Sure, I agree, but we're trying to make this like, give him like a sentence, like define fundamentals in a sentence.
And I think we're proving that you can't. I think that is not. I think that is disingenuous to say that you can define it in a sentence. And I think you can define it in a few sentences. I don't think you can. I don't think you can define it in a sentence.
We've sent men to the moon. You're telling me we can't define fundamentals in one sentence?
Yeah, you can, but you won't do a good job of it. I think. I think.
Neil Armstrong looked down at Earth. Surely we could do this, right?
No, I think we covered it pretty well though, and I think the fact that we can cover it in 10 minutes is impressive in itself.
I'm gonna take a stab at it.
All right, go for it.
Fundamentals is using the knowledge that you have and acquiring said knowledge to make informed decisions mid-match.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay, beautiful.
but I mean, it's like that's fair. But it like if you want to start there, I think that's great. I'll give it to you. You've put the man on the moon. You've done it.
Thank God, Houston. We no longer have a problem.
But we do. Like but because the problem is that how do you like learning is so what do you call it? It's like tautological, right?
What is that tautological?
It means it's like something that defines itself. Like it's when
is
you
this like inculcate? Why do you keep throwing these words at me? I mean, what the hell, tautological? I've heard of tater tots.
Just take a philosophy class. And then
I've taken a philosophy class.
But okay, but in any case, like when you tell someone to learn, it's like telling someone to do something that's so innate. Like you can't just tell someone to learn. So how do we teach people to like accelerate this learning process?
Right. Well, I'll say it right now. Fundamentals in Smash, the key distinction between Smash and let's say like conventional sports is that when you first start like learning conventional sports, say you're 5, you're learning how to hit a baseball. You know what I mean? And first they put the ball on the tee, and you hit the ball on the tee, and then they have like a machine pitch the ball to you, and it's like the same pitch every time. And you learn to squash the bug and to keep your eye on the ball and to do all the little things they always tell you to do. And eventually you play against like a dad throws the ball to you every game, and then eventually finally they put you against a real player. And when you're like 10 years old, and you've learned all these fundamentals piece by piece, and you kind of add on to it sequentially throughout the years. Right, and you have this awesome structured learning process, and but with Smash or with any video game, you usually form a lot of your bad habits without thought. You're just playing the game to have some fun with your friends or just pass the time. You're not thinking about it in the same framework. You don't start out with a coach telling you the right way to do things. So I think it's important to draw that distinction and to first, before we teach people to learn, we kind of outline the context with which they've arrived at the point that they currently are.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, but a lot of people are kind of past that point, which is interesting because you come straight in. Whenever you come straight into like tennis or baseball or basketball, you're immediately put into, unless you're just like playing like scrimmage games with your friends, where you pick up some bad technique here and there, and then but likely the first landing point is you go to lessons, and because Smash's landing point for so many people and for literally probably everyone, I don't think there's probably very few parents, although I'm sure it exists out there, where it's like, okay, we're gonna have coaching sessions every day, 2 to 3. We're gonna practice short hopping.
Yo, little Peon Jr., I'm telling you right now, the moment a GameCube controller fits in his hands, he's going to be short hopping.
Dude, but I actually think that's cool. First of all, I think that the fact that this is probably going to be a very very legitimate reality is awesome.
Man, my dad, he used to. I would come home from school or whatever, and I would we would have to turn right to go home, and he would take a left. I'm like, Dad, where are we going? Where are we going? He's like, well, son, don't you want to improve at baseball? I'm like, Dad, I just want to go home. It's been a long day. And he's like, well, I guess you don't want to improve then. I'm like, fine. Let's turn left, whatever. And we'd go to the park, whatever, and play catch or play. And those are some good memories. But I have a feeling I'm going to be just as annoying to my kid. Like, oh, you don't want to improve at Smash today, son? You don't want to spike people in bracket? Okay, fine. We can go home.
Yeah, I love that like implied passive aggressiveness that always comes with with coaching or teaching. But yeah, to kind of loop back into this, to make it really simple, people just have to learn how to recognize things mid-match and then immediately act on it. The faster that you can make that cycle, I think the faster that you can improve, which is why you see pro players making like 3 or 4 of these cycles mid-game, whereas mid-level and low-level players struggle to even make one of them.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good way to put it. I want to talk to you about the kind of people that are like clear examples of people that might not have the best fundamentals versus the people that like clearly have good fundamentals. So let's paint a picture. You know what I mean?
Sure, this sounds like a game show, honestly. Like
contestant number 1. No, so I want to tell a little anecdote. There's this Luigi player in my region. I talked about him last episode, actually, or a couple episodes ago. Lovely guy. The dude is the best player in the world. Well, no, he's not. but he is like he has the highest ratio of being a good player to having bad fundamentals. Like he is the number 1 on that list. And I say this because in Smash 4 this was the case too. In Smash Ultimate this is the case. The dude never ever adjusts his game plan. He's like a level 15 computer where all he will do is play around the Luigi 0 to death or just go for like shoryukens with Luigi and he'll hit them. Like he has all these gimmicky setups. His combo game is immaculate. He knows exactly what to hit you with at what percent, and he's like a very technical player. And he's lightning quick with his inputs. But you could hit him with the same attack 100 times in a row and still expect it to hit on the 101st attack. Right? That to me is a brilliant example of someone that doesn't have good fundamentals.
Yeah. I mean, it's very clear when someone doesn't. They're doing the same thing over and over again. But theoretically, it's like, shouldn't it be actually really easy to beat these people? Like, why is it actually so hard to beat these people that that at least in your definition have no fundamentals whatsoever?
Yeah, because I think that fundamentals can only take you so far. I think having good fundamentals is important, but when they're not supported by a really strong, technical ability, I think that it doesn't matter. Like you can think your way all you want through a match, but if you can't actually hit your combos, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, it's like if you're in basketball, it's like if you're that one dude who can just only hit like unguarded 3-pointers from like half court, like and you can probably like clean up if you're playing against your friends, but obviously pro players are probably going to do a better job of guarding your rando pot shots.
Yeah, fundamentals are everything, dude. My middle school basketball coach would be on the All-Star team in the NBA. That dude did not miss a free throw.
Yeah, it's like, so free throws are your that's like your RAR of or I feel like no, I feel like it's more, it's even more basic than that. What would a free throw be in Smash?
The free throw equivalent. There's no like 1-to-1 comparison. It'd probably just be like a kill confirm, just like
Yeah, it's like a kill confirm or a grab combo. Yeah, it's just something that's just like very, very
something that you're
freezy.
expected to make, and when you don't, you feel embarrassed about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a nair to up air is like, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's like a bunch of these different types of players. Like I know you always talk about this like one player like in passing who knows like every like specific like aspect and like frame and like he knows all the frame data numbers. He knows all of like the weight numbers down to the decimal points. And
Yeah.
it's like sometimes like in these like rare like situations this knowledge like can legitimately win you a set, or like people that focus on what that have I play such like a random character that you've never played it before, and they just kind of hit you with like this random surprise. It's like when I played against my first K Rool that was good. He did this thing where I didn't know K Rool when he was doing the whole suction thing could drop through the platform while doing it. So it took me like 5 times to actually to like get used to this because I've literally never seen it before.
Yeah, I do want to distinguish, like, well, two things. One, there is a baseline level of technical ability that I foster into, like, having good fundamentals. Of course, you need to be able to move your character a little bit, but there is a distinction to draw. Like, there are people who, like you said, they have, like, the entire, like, Microsoft Excel spreadsheet of, like, the exact decimal numbers of when, like, some trivial situational combo will hit. They might have that kind of thing memorized, but that's not really indicative of like good fundamentals. It's like, dude, why are you wasting your time with that, right? And but you know, of course, you still have to move. Like I think some people, I've seen people do the opposite. This is like a warning: is people like will drop all these easy combos all the time. They'll be like, yeah, I'm more of a fundamentals based player. Like, well, sure, but you should still be hitting your stuff. Like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to like discourage basic technical ability.
Yeah. I like the idea of taking all of like the basic stuff for granted. Like it's like we're just gonna say, you know what, it is and Zero and everyone has a billion training videos on how to do everything. Go learn that. once you perfected that, let's start talking about FGC fundamentals. And the thing is that I also want to talk about something that's actually very close to me, which is I classify these players called downloaders.
Ooh.
And the thing is, I was one of them, and I would basically just like since we had a really small scene in Santa Barbara, I would go around to everyone's house. I was actually like I don't give myself enough credit, and Peon tells me this all the time. It's like he's like, dude, you played way more than everyone. But the thing is, what I do is I would go to someone's house, I would figure out exactly how they play, and then never play them again.
Yeah. Oh no. Abhi
Like,
was the king of that. Dude, you would go to like I'm telling you guys, this is a true story. He would systematically invite himself over to the entire Smash community's houses. He would bike over to their house, sit down, play them for like 2 hours.
you make it sound like I just like showed up on their front door.
Oh yeah, yeah. You would like have you heard of the good news of Jesus Christ? And then boom, you would download them just like that. No, but seriously, he would systematically enter people's homes like Santa Claus on Christmas.
That sounds so bad.
It naked. No, but you would learn you would learn people's habits, and it was very deliberate. Like I really feel like you were some sort of like super villain, or you had this plan. Like I'm going to learn more about this person than they will learn about me, and it really worked for you.
Yeah, I think it was really useful. I mean, because my important thing was I want to win. Like I actually didn't. Like everyone has this like different idea of what success meant to them, and at that point I'd never really like won a tournament. I'd never even gotten close to top 3. So my idea of winning was I literally just need to download everyone because that for me that was the method of playing. But then I realized when I started playing out of region, when I started playing a bunch of new players, it didn't really work. It like especially when I came up to NorCal, I'm playing a new person every week, no matter what. Like I will be against someone who I've never played before. And I have to understand that if I can't adapt to a person's play in one game, and like I can't just have this idea of like I'm going to be able to play like an hour or 3 hours against someone. I have to be able to take to in one game at the very least, if not in like the first 2 minutes, I need to figure something out.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing about fundamentals. Is fundamentals are universal. Fundamentals you can apply in every situation. They're always with you. In every match you carry them with you. And that's one thing I want to outline about fundamentals is why it's so important is that like the best players, they play the same in every match. Even though they're against different play styles, they will download and they will approach that match with a similar vein, through the same scope. And whereas you, as like the systematic downloader you were talking about, you would approach every match very specifically. Like you weren't playing against this Ike, you were playing against what's his face, who you play with every Tuesday, and you know exactly what kind of habits he fishes for and what options work against him, right? But you're not kind of putting this universal lens on it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't say it's fair to say now because I have absolutely no like, I have no access to anything like that. In fact, I barely get to play friendlies against people, which is really unfortunate. And I have wanted to more, but my practice is limited to Wi-Fi. So actually, the only thing I can do in tournament is adapt. So I've been forced into the situation where I need to be I need to have really strong pattern recognition. And in my opinion, the way to most simply describe like this concept is just pattern recognition. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, you see a pattern, you see something. When can you acknowledge that it is a pattern, and what can you do to counteract that? And I think that the first part is actually super important because sometimes it's like you can't just say in the first minute of a game someone rolls onto stage and say, okay, this guy is going to roll again. Like you actually you need to get some more information. So it's kind of saying, okay, how much information do I need to gather, and then when can I start acting on that information?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you need to have a large enough sample size, right? Like if the guy picks an option one time, it might not be indicative of his entire playstyle, right? But there's a certain point where okay, yeah, this is what he likes to do, and yeah. I think that this is a good time to talk about actually practicing this stuff. How do you build this skill set? My answer to this is practice cause and effect. When you're playing just even a friendly against your buddy, try to make it a little bit more serious, right? Or even an online match, you can practice this on quick play or whatever, elite smash, quick play, whatever. When you do something, how does your opponent respond? Right? Cause and effect. If you go and grab him and do a down throw, does he try to jump over you? Does he recover low? Does he, try to fight out of disadvantage? I want you to start looking for these kind of tendencies.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to look at it because you just have to say, yeah, there's going to be this like swath of options that your opponent likes to use. You have like you want to like pick apart, okay, these are maybe the two approach options he or she likes to use, and then these are the defensive options, and you start being very conscious of this stuff, and you say, okay, like let's break these down into categories so I can attack them systematically. And it comes down to, like you were describing, of just being more serious and being conscious. One of my favorite things to do is when I watch pro players, I like to see this window of like how long does it take for someone to adapt to something and punish it. And I actually something that I encourage you to do is wait for the time, like look for the timestamp of when the punish happened, and then see how much time has elapsed and see all of the instances that like that habit was let go before it was finally punished. And I think that's actually a super cool way to watch this happen in action when you're doing VOD reviews.
Yeah, there's this kind of like funny, well, not funny, but there's this kind of cool concept too where you'll see things where like maybe a pro player will pick the same option 4 times in a row, and yeah, that it's like the no mix up, right? They call it where certainly he's going to change his options, but he never does. You know, like these kind of deep kind of like inception like layers of decision making. It's all really interesting, and when you boil like any fighting game down to its core, it really just becomes two players negotiating, you know, the selection of options. Like, I think he's going to do this, so I'll respond this way. Oh, I think he'll do this, I'll respond this way. And choosing when and how to punish is the fun part, right? But I can't stress enough how important it is to start thinking about this stuff during your practice routines. Deliberately.
Mm-hmm. I like that you called it a negotiation, and the reason why is whenever someone like wins or loses a Smash game, it feels very all or nothing, right? It's like, do you ever? Well, but it's. I mean, maybe you feel differently about it, but in my opinion, like every negotiation or every like contract, there's never there's probably a official winner or loser, but there's never like it's not a zero sum game. In every game, whether you've won or you've lost, you've had these opportunities to make improvements and to engage in this pattern recognition. And in my opinion, understanding like when you have won, even when you've lost, and when you've lost, even when you've won, is super important.
Yeah,
and,
that's a good point. Because like,
isn't that really cool? Really cool.
Yeah, you can win a game, and you can win a game without punishing deliberately any habits that your opponent did, right? Like, I could play a game against, you know, my 2-year-old cousin, and I won't be thinking about his habits. I'll just beat him up till the game's over, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even then, well, okay, that isn't really fair. Let's say like my 5-year-old cousin who can at least hold the controller. Even my 5-year-old cousin, without any knowledge of the game, will rely on certain options. Like, oh, okay, this guy doesn't know how to shield. I'm just gonna, you know, keep hitting him with my aerials, right? Like, in a more realistic situation, is like maybe you're round 1 of tournament. I want you to really, by the end of the first game, win or lose, I want you to try to understand your opponent. You know, what do they think about? Are they defensive in situations where they're in disadvantage? Are they scared? Are they aggressive? What kind of tendencies do they display when they're in advantage, when they're in disadvantage? How do they act? Try to characterize their play style. All this kind of stuff will help you kind of build a library to add to the collection that you know composes, or what's the word, that makes up your fundamentals.
Yeah, comprises.
Thank you. Comprises
would be a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the thing is to kind of jump off of that, it's like when you're playing that round 1 opponent, it's like super easy for you to kind of just steamroll it or get steamrolled. It's like it's super easy for no learning whatsoever to happen. And I think the thing is, when you start thinking initially, you're going to perform worse. And we always talk about this initial hit, this fixed cost you have to pay whenever you learn something or you change up your play. It's like whether you're choosing a different control scheme. I mean, this is the equivalent of changing your mentality is choosing a different mental control scheme. That are.
I like that.
Yeah, is that kind of cool? Like, you're fundamentally changing the way that you think about the game. Therefore, all of your other aspects of your game change because you've completely changed the way you think about it. You have to deliberately like do all these mental calculations, and that affects your physical ability, and that affects your all of like the other like tangential and peripheral parts of your play. So the thing is, take the hit. Like, it's super important, especially with something as important as pattern recognition and understanding to be very conscious no matter what is. And it's just basically just initially like big like reframing your mind like that is just super important.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Like I wish you could go into the control setting and like change your mental mentality.
Bro, you can't even like turn off the like automatic short hop. Like the control schemes are already pretty limited, but I think maybe like on Smash 17 you'll be able to change your brain.
Yeah, dude. What if you could like change the height of your jumps? Like that would be so cool. Like customizing. Like I guess that's what they tried to do with custom moves, but it just kind of fell flat.
Yeah, I bet Evo would let you customize your jumps.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of progressive tournaments.
Dude, have you thought about that? You know, the first Evo in Smash 4 they used custom moves. Like, what if this year's Evo they allow people to use like the spirits?
That would be pretty nuts. But it's like, how would you guarantee every setup at every spirit?
That's beyond me. You're the TO of this podcast, AB. I don't know.
And that is actually the problem with custom moves too. It's like you can't like the fact that they got all the custom moves on every setup is quite the crazy feat.
That might be more impressive than the Man of the Moon thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean they probably did a thing where you just like used the SD card and copied the game data, but it sounds so tedious. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, that sounds just as boring as unlocking them traditionally.
Yeah. It was pretty tough. It was awful. But in any case, I think we've covered this like pretty well. Is there anything else you wanted to cap off on?
Yeah, I want to outline kind of a path for people to take, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I want to kind of summarize this in a way that is consolidated. So when it comes to your fundamentals, right, and learning them, the first part of it is understanding the framework with which to think about each match and beyond. You know, what decisions are my opponents making? How can I respond to those decisions habitually? When do I punish those, and how do I punish those? That is the basis of Smash fundamentals. So first things first, I really want you to take that to heart. I really want you to make that a priority in your training going forward.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the first place to start. And if you were to take anything away from this episode, it would definitely be that.
Yeah. But AV, I think this brings us to our questions.
Hey, all right. What do we got for us today?
So Ark asks, which fighter would you want with you on a road trip and why? I would want Jigs because she'd jam out with me and put me to sleep, and we'd all die. She'd also make a great flat patch on my tire.
This is a very easy question.
Okay.
It would definitely be Cloud.
What? Why?
He just wouldn't say anything. He would sit in the corner, and I get to listen to music in peace.
Oh my, nah, dude. I feel like Cloud would insist on the aux cord, and he would just play like K-pop the whole time.
The anime intros.
It would just be weeb music the entire time, man. I don't know.
I'd probably want to chill with like the broiest character. Who's the broiest character?
No, you can't change your answer. You just said this is easy, Cloud. Now it's my turn to answer.
Okay.
You already wasted your answer. My answer has got to be Zero Suit Samus. She's a babe. That's it. I mean, hey, put her in the convertible. You know what I mean? See the Grand Canyon. That'd be cool. I'd be down.
All right. After that very traditional masculine answer, we're gonna go on to Kung Fu Fish Stick. What tier are you feeling Joker might be when he's introduced? Piranha Plant is a lot of fun, but doesn't appear to be a good competitive choice.
I think that this is a question that, I mean, this is complete speculation, right? I actually saw a while ago that his stats were data mined, like his movement and his jumps and stuff. And I remember like analyzing them at the time and looking at them and finding them curious, but I don't think I actually spent too much time like scientifically, kind of mapping it out. So I honestly don't know let's just say history's told us that DLC characters are pretty good. Piranha Plant, I think, is an outlier. I think Joker's going to at least be high tier.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of DLC characters actually sucked when they came out. Mewtwo was notoriously bad when when it first came out. So I'm not surprised if Joker would be somewhere in there. But the thing is, all edgy characters are good. Name an edgy character that's not at least like mid high tier.
Yeah. Um. Sheik. Nah, Sheik's could be like mid tier. I don't know. Yeah, there's no bottom tier edgelords. You're right.
Yeah, it's because you gotta make the edgelords good. And that's it. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I like your answer. I'm with you.
There you go.
Kemor asks, my brother sucks at Smash and is constantly getting bodied by me. How do I help him? Yeah, Kemor with the flex. How do I help him so he can have fun with the game besides that? Should I create a training routine even if he has a very long way to go?
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of stuff that you can do. Like we were talking about with what Peon is going to do with Peon Junior in the training room. As long
I do
as
want to clarify, I haven't impregnated anybody. Like this is like the far future, right? I just want to make that clear.
Look, I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals on this show. There's Derek. there's a lot of crazy things that we've assumed. Apparently, from last episode, I have a bunch of dirty needles on the floor. So, as far as I know, you definitely have a kid somewhere. So
yeah.
And here's the thing. You're gonna do those drills with your brother. If he doesn't like it, whatever, just keep bodying him. But make sure if he doesn't care about getting better. Like if he just cares about having fun, like play items with him. Like seriously, I'm not even kidding. Like if just find out what your brother actually wants. If he wants to get better, then maybe start doing the training drills with him. Otherwise, if he just wants to have fun, just like I'm actually all for like playing the game more casually when relevant.
Yeah,
and I think it's super important to sometimes just take a step back and just like have fun. You don't need to beat him up every time. And just kind of chill out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Kemor, does he want to improve? If the answer is no, then, I don't know, buy him ice cream. Stop playing. Don't worry about it. Just go do something else. If he wants to improve, yeah. I mean, you can just help him improve, you know? Just because he has a long way to go, just because he's bad now, doesn't mean he'll be good eventually. Like, his current skill should have no bearing on his eventual progress, right? Like, we all improve. So, yeah, I think that if he wants to improve, be a good brother, help him improve.
Absolutely.
AV, I think that's about all the time we have this week. It's been nice chatting with you. You know, it was cool to kind of uncover fundamentals. It was a pretty dense topic. I hope that we were able to provide some good analysis on it. I think we did, but it's definitely a confusing one. So either way, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a pretty good job of making it pretty concise as far as kind of stuffing it into a podcast and figuring out, okay, if someone tells you at your local, yeah, dude, you gotta work on your fundamentals, dude. Like if you like if some Smash bro like comes up to you.
Oh, dude, your fundamentals, dude.
Yeah, like if someone comes up to you in Malibu Beach and says that, like, you gotta work in fundamentals, bro. Like you got you know what to do now. Like, and the thing is, always ask them. Like, please ask them exactly please ask them to elaborate and seem very interested and engaged. If they give you a good answer, great. If they don't, you can have a laugh from and definitely tell us about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you even heard AV and I have like not disparity, but you know, we had a lot of back and forth on what exactly fundamentals are, how we view them, all that. So, you know, when you hear people use that word, try to get them to clarify. Like, they might mean something entirely different than what you think they mean. Or they might not mean anything at all, and they're just moving their mouth because they like to hear their own voice. Much like, you know, a couple of podcast hosts. Isn't that right, Abhi?
I wasn't listening to you because I only listened to my own voice.
What do you say? All right, but AV, it's been a pleasure, my man. Where can people find you on social media?
People can find me at Abhi Vaidyanatha, my long Indian last name, plus a little A at the front.
Where can people find you tomorrow morning?
People can find me at work. This is something special. I'm not an early riser, but actually, you'll probably find me sleeping. And I know you get into work super early. But speaking of where people can find people, where can people find you, Peon?
You can find me at Peon_GCE. That's Gamma Casino Ellipses.
you so planned that.
What if I told you I didn't? What if I just?
Dude, that would be so cool. I would be very impressed.
What was so impressive about that? I just said 3 random words.
I don't know. It sounded very official.
Thank you. You can find me at Peon_GCE on Twitter. You can find our show at Beyond Metagame. That is at Beyond Metagame. Guys, Twitter did not allocate any room for the. You can find our Discord in the show notes, in the YouTube description, and this Discord is the place to be if you want to talk about Smash, the metagame beyond Smash. AV and I, if you want to hit us up, talk to us on voice, play games with us. It's an awesome community. And I just checked my calendar. Today, there's never been a better time to join. Also, please, if you could at Michelle Obama and/or Johnny Sins on Twitter, we need to get them on the podcast, guys. We need to get them on the podcast. But that is all for this week. As always, thank you for listening, and goodbye.